So today on Daddy Nadong, we're going to do best 11s from the last 30 years for Brentford. Today with me, I've got Jay and Doug with their best 11 from that 30-year period. Enjoy.
So, my all-time Brentford team. So I've been supporting since I was about 15. First game, 3-3 Oldham. Kind of hooked from there. Cheap in it, as well as being lower leagues is a bit more fun sometimes. So yeah, there's a mixture of legends here, quite a few recent players, but also mixing quality. So when we say all time, it's also a few of my favourites in there as well. So in goal, David Ray at the moment is amazing, but my all-time favourite keeper was Jack Chesney when he was on loan for Arsenal. Oh my God, he was ridiculous, and obviously playing at the highest level now. Yeah, can't fault the guy, amazing. Right back, gone old King Kev O'Connor, like absolute club legend. Doing wonders for the club at the moment as well. Probably doesn't get talked about enough. Like Brian Raymer, you hear a lot about him. But Kev works in the back and is just an absolute club legend. My all-time favourite and probably I think the best centre back I've ever seen us have is actually Pinnock. So he gets in there as well. My other centre back position is a bit of a tough one because Sojay wasn't with us very long, but I think Sam Sojay knocks it over Janssen for me as one of our all-time centre-backs. Rico Henry, easily our best left-back ever, and he goes straight into my list. Midfield is a bit of a... You probably wouldn't want to play him together, but yeah, definitely some of our best, some of my favourite players. So on the right wing, we got Saunders. Definitely one of my favourite players. Scored one of my favourite goals when he's fell over and then smashed a free kick in top left corner. Amazing. But again, it's a close run-in between him and Ben Rama. Definitely, probably one of the best players I've seen on a Brentford pitch, Ben Rama. My all-time favourite player, Toumani Diagouraga, often known as Dave back in the day. Probably couldn't get allowed to call him that now. But yeah, definitely great on the ball. Had a little turn of pace in the middle as well. Long-legged, great player. He's injured at the moment, but big Josh Da Silva, you can see the quality in him. He's definitely going to be an amazing player for us. So yeah, there are my two centre mids. Moving on to left wing, I'm going with Brian Mbeumo. Again, well, I just think he's absolute class. A lot of fans hated on him a little bit last year when he wasn't getting as many goals as the year before, but I think he just shines through every game. Up top is a bit of a probably a bit of a weird combination. So first of all, recent times, Watkins or Tony. I can't really pick over the two, to be honest. I think both of them are amazing for us. Probably Watkins nicked it because he's been with us. He was with us a little bit longer. We'll see how long Tony's with us, but Watkins developing from a winger to a striker and just being an absolute class bloke. And then my all-time favourite striker for us, because I've seen him a lot, Lloyd Owusu was definitely up there, but this guy takes it for me. Clayton Donaldson. There's a lot of buzz when Clayton used to get the ball. Great finish on the guy and was great for us in League One. Absolutely fantastic.
So my all-time Brentford 11 from the last 30 years, I find quite difficult to nail down 11 players that would hold their own and people would recognise and could compare them to the team of 2021. The team that we have now, I think, man for man, they are probably a lot better than anybody that we've had in the past. That's not to say in 1992 when we won the old League One championship, we didn't have great players in that side. You know, I'm thinking of Dean Holdsworth and Gary Blissett, Terry Evans and Keith Millen, Marcus Gale, to name a few. In those days, they were a great team and they could probably be compared with any player from the previous 30 years, for instance, because they were great players at that level of football. But moving forward, now we have had some level of success over the last 10 years. I could probably pin down an all-time 11 from maybe the last 10 years. And I won't name 11 players from different eras. I'll just go for one game in particular. And I think when I name the team of David Button, Odubajo, Harley Dean, James Tarkowski, Jake Bidwell, Jonathan Douglas, Diagoraga, Jota, Pritchard, Dallas and Andre Gray, some smart people may recognise that 11 as the 11 that thrashed Fulham 4-1 in April 2015. And I think for most Brentford fans, that is the most standout team performance in everybody's lifetime. But even in that side, which I really do consider the football that we played that year was the best I've ever seen, apart from now where we are surpassing it, I think. Players like Andre Gray, can you compare him to Ivan Toney? Not really, because they're totally different. Andre Gray was just an out-and-out goal scorer. Ivan Toney is probably the best player that most people have ever seen at Brentford, simply because of his all-round play. Looking at in midfield, Jonathan Douglas and Tamari Diagoraga, I felt for a long time we have needed to replace those players. Skillful players, box-to-box players with a good amount of skill as well. And yet now we're seeing Christian Norgard and Vitaly Janelt doing exactly the same job, protecting the defence and going forward, helping out the attack. If I was to name my favourite player of all time for Brentford, I think that would be Terry Hurlock, but he falls out of the criteria for this piece, as he played in the 1980s. But as I've mentioned just a few moments ago, Ivan Toney, I think, is fast becoming an all-time favourite. Even some of the other players in this current squad, but I would have said before this season, our best goalkeeper ever was Wojciech Szczesny. We only had him for a year, and he was a teenager on loan from Arsenal. But his performances in that one season with us were outstanding. And then what we've got now, David Raya, is just, he's extraordinary. And if Jurgen Klopp thinks he can play as a number 10, well, I'll take that person's opinion of him. So, in summary, I think that game in 2015 was, I think that just encapsulates all that Brentford was about at that time. Attacking football, and we were successful. It was a majority of the team that had got just one promotion, and we got into the playoffs that year. Now going forward to this current season, our first ever in the Premier League, and we're holding our own. And some of the players are just, they make you proud to be a Brentford fan at this particular time. So I'll sign off now, and that's that. April 2015, it was a good Friday. It was pouring down with rain. Stuart Dallas with 2 goals. Alan Judge, who came on as a substitute for, I think it was Pritchard, scored a free kick, direct free kick from about 25 yards, just towards the end, and then the famous Jota in the last minute.